So when Hannah and I started farming, when we started Rough Draft Farmstead, our vision for it was really simple. Essentially, we wanted a homestead. We wanted to grow our own food, have a bunch of different animals, ferment and preserve and cure and natural dye everything. And then we just figured we'd grow enough extra to pay the bills. And I'm sure we're not alone in this. I'm sure there are lots of people who have started homesteads or farms with this sort of vision of just that being everything that they do. But something we kind of quickly ran into was that we weren't able to do, within a few years, we realized we were really limited in what we were doing. We weren't able to add on to our house or even finish our house. We had a cabin that we built in Bug Tussle, Kentucky, that was never really finished because we just never had the money to put into it to actually get it done. And we started to realize there was a lot of little things like that. We weren't able to build our garden the way we wanted to because we didn't have the capital to do it. And so part of that is because we went into it with no capital. We just figured we could start a homestead really small and build up from there. And we just weren't making enough money to create the homestead that we wanted. And it kind of occurred to us that we either had to get off-farm jobs or we had to turn it into a business. So today I kind of want to just talk a little bit about this. I want to talk about kind of how we made that decision and what the steps were to take it from that homesteader thing into a farm, but without forgetting why we got into it to begin with. We still do a lot of those things and we still live the lifestyle we want, but the business, the farm business, really helps us to be able to afford to do that. First thing that we did was really simple. We found, I think I was listening to the Farmer to Farmer with Dan Brisebois, who I've already talked about like last week. I love Dan Brisebois. He talked about holistic management, so we started looking into holistic management and setting your holistic goals, and not holistic management with the animals, we already do that. Talking about holistic goals, like setting your goals. And essentially what this is deciding where you want to be, like where you want to end up, what you have, what are your resources to get there, and then once you're there, how are you going to sustain it? So that's like a quality of life thing, right? You're trying to accomplish a specific quality of life, but you're also detailing how you're going to get there and then mapping that out financially and physically. Like, these are the steps that we're going to take to get there. There's a lot on holistic management. I'll put a few links in the show notes for you if you want to check into holistic management. It's really worth it. I think everybody should do that from the get-go. And that also helped us to just lay out our budget. Like, this is what we have to make month by month. And then on top of that, this is what we have to make to have a savings, to finish the house, to invest in equipment. This is the amount of money we need to be making. And as we were doing that, we realized like the style of farming that we were doing, we had pigs and we had chickens and we had goats and we had, like random blueberries and stuff planted everywhere. And it was just kind of like this weird little permaculture randomness. It was beautiful, it was fun, we learned a lot. We learned a lot about farming and about animals and about the animals we like working with, sheep, and the animals we don't like working with, goats. I love goats, but don't love working with them. Learned a lot about just realizing that the style of farming we were doing wasn't gonna produce enough gross or net income to build. So that was kind of our first step, was like laying out our budget. This is what we need to make month by month, and then all the additional stuff of what we need to earn. So that was kind of the first step. And then the second step was just finding a style of agriculture that made sense to us. We really liked growing vegetables. I would say of all the things I've done in farming, vegetables have been the most rewarding. And so in so doing, we kind of sought out people who were doing it on a scale that was financially viable. And so we started listening to a lot of Farmer to Farmer podcasts. Chris Blanchard, rest in peace, really brilliant guy. You should always listen to that. It's an amazing resource. We started listening to a lot of that. We started reading The Market Gardener and Curtis Stone's book and watching his videos and all those sorts of things. We started really focusing in on how can we make money doing this, and then simultaneously, how can we do that and retain what we love about homesteading? And so we still have chickens. We have, their fur, there's chickens, and we'll talk about that sometime further as his own chicken business. We still have some animals that we like. We do the gardens. We're going to start planting more orchards and all that sort of stuff. But we're finally like to a point when we're making a living off of our business and able to reincorporate or further incorporate the things that got us into farming to begin with. And I think that every homesteader kind of comes to that crossroads where they realize like homesteading itself isn't enough. You either have to choose an off-farm job, and I looked into just being a full-time freelance writer for a long time. And then Hannah was doing a bunch of art. We were also selling t-shirts and stuff, or just becoming a farmer. And I don't necessarily think that just becoming a farmer is the answer for everyone. As long as you sit down and do those holistic goals and figure out exactly what you want, then you can sort of figure out whether or not farming's for you, because it can be a pretty harsh lifestyle. It can be up and down. You can have plant diseases that wipe out crops. You know, you can have bad weather, bad years. Markets can dive. We were at a farmer's market one year that just the next year there were like 100 fewer vendors, and it completely imploded. And that was a big hit. So there's issues like that in farming. So you have to decide if that's what you want to do, or if, you know, a lot of the great homesteaders on YouTube, you'll see a lot of them are doing content creation, but that's their full-time job, or they're doing, or they have off-farm jobs and they talk about that. You'll see that they all have their other jobs, and I think that that's you have to make that decision, and you have to make that decision early on, especially before you purchase land. Because if you do want to be a farmer, the type of land and the quality of land you have is going to make a huge difference in the efficacy of becoming a farmer, right? Or it's going to determine what kind of farmer you're going to be. If you just have a big wooded plot, maybe you get into woodland medicinals, and you do that on a scale that makes enough money to afford you the lifestyle you want. I'm not going to say it's impossible to just be a homesteader. I think it is possible. It's generally something you do when you have money already, or you own land and you don't have a lot of obligations. For us with kids, that was pretty hard. And we wanted to be able to offer them more. And we also wanted to be able to take care of our cars and fix up our house and all the things that you kind of need to just maintain. So again, holistic management, right? Where do you want to be? How are you going to get there? And then how are you going to sustain it? That's essentially the nuts and bolts of it. So anyway, that's been on my mind. I thought I would just talk about that a little bit. You all feel free to add your notes. I have the best comment section on YouTube, so I always read it. I always try and respond. Any insight you have is great. Criticisms, whatever, I can take it. And yeah, let me know if you all do that. Do you homestead and then farm full-time, or do you homestead and then have another job, or do you... I mean, that's kind of where the term farmsteading came from for us. We chose something in between, a farm business and a homestead that was both. And then we do other stuff on the side too, but that's just because that's who we are. I like writing. I like doing the podcast. I like doing the videos. Hannah does art on the side. We still do those things. We still do those other things, but farming is our full-time business. This is what pays the bills. Anyway, like this video if you like this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Also, be on the lookout for the podcast. It's coming up soon. I'm going to give a few shout outs to some Patreon members. There's certain goals. If you're a Patreon member at patreon.com/farmerjesse, where I will shout you out for supporting us. So, Connor Crickmore from Never Sink Farm, Jean-Martin Fortier from La Ferme de Cap-Temp, Dawson Mahalko, Jubilant Field Farm, Tiffany Jackson, Yannick LaPlante, what's up Yannick? Ryan Gosser, Aaron Hawkins, my homie, Ashley Turner, Jackson Roulette, my partner at no-tillgrowers.com, also a supporter, and Fiona and Donnie from Firefly Farm. You all are awesome. Thank you for being big supporters of the show, of the no-tillgrowers.com, and of the podcast. You all are awesome. Anyway, that's it. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.